So the title today is Living a Lie and What is Honesty? Sometimes I struggle to remember what the title is, but that is the title. So you've got two forms of lying. You've got the form of lying where you purposely tell a lie because you don't want to tell a truth. So say if your partner asked you where you were today and you were at your friend's house and you didn't want to tell your partner that, so you say, oh, I went to the shops. That's a lie. But you lied knowingly, consciously. They say that once you repeat the lie 6 times that you begin to forget that it's a lie and believe that it's a truth. And then you've got this other form of lying where you don't know you're lying, where you actually believe that you're telling the truth. Where you actually think that you're telling the truth. If you actually drop into your body, then you can feel that what you're saying isn't right. But on the conscious level, it's what your mind is saying, so that's what feels like the truth. So say, for an example, your partner is putting the plates in the dishwasher the wrong way up and you've told them 5 times to put them the other way, and you begin to get annoyed, and then your partner turns around and says, are you annoyed? And you say, no, I'm not annoyed, but you're not actually conscious that you are annoyed. So on the surface, you might be thinking, why is he putting it in the wrong way? Why does he always do that? But you've not got any consciousness that you're actually feeling annoyed. So you say, no, I'm not annoyed. That's maybe a bit of a simplistic one. Let me think of a more complicated, unconscious lie. So say if you're talking to your friend about how annoying this person is and how they've done this or they've done that, and then your friend says something like, are you sure that they've not just upset you, or you just feel hurt? And then you're like, no, it's not that, it's just that they've done it lots of times before, and you can't actually feel that you're feeling upset or vulnerable. But on the conscious level, your mind is telling you that the problem is that they did a certain thing. And that's what's actually upsetting you. But actually deep down, it's that you feel vulnerable, and if you go into your belly, you know that to be the case. Or say if you go out with your friends and you're feeling really jealous a lot of the night or really uncomfortable a lot of the night, but you're not conscious of that. So when somebody says, did you have a good time? Your mind replies, yes, I had a good time. And even though your body's in pain and you feel uncomfortable, your mind is telling you the story that you had a good time. So it's like your thought processes and your thinking is out of line with what you're actually feeling. And this is the unconscious lying. The initial lie that happens, and there's so many lies that you'll find you're telling yourself throughout the day, but the initial lie that happens is the lie that you are a separate entity existing and that you have choice and free will and you're separate from all things. And that feels like it's a truth to you, but this is actually a lie. This isn't true. That's not the way it is. That's why you listen to these talks, because when I talk about wholeness, there's a part of you that knows that is true. And then lots of lies build on top of that. So I speak to people all the time, and often one thing where people are lying and they're not conscious of it is they're telling me something that is a problem, and then I ask them, say, if they're upset, and they say, no, I'm not upset, and they can't admit that they're feeling uncomfortable. All you need to do is see what your body's saying. Your body doesn't lie. And when you're in line with yourself, when you're in line with your essence as aliveness and as freedom, then there's this nice flow to it. Even if it's painful, it feels right. When you're in lie and disharmony, there's a sense of friction inside of you. So when you feel like a story you're telling on the mental level is in line with your body, there's a sense of joy and freedom and expansion and infinite nature to it. When you're in lie, you're in a contraction and discomfort. So say you're interpreting how bad a situation is and you're feeling really uncomfortable, I can assure you it's your mind out of line. It's your mind out of line telling a lie. So say you're at a family barbecue and you're telling yourself how small-minded or narrow-minded the people are and that's why you're unhappy. That's not true. And you begin to feel suffering and uncomfortable and you don't like it, and it's not true. That line isn't true. The reason that you feel uncomfortable is because you're out of line with who you are and you're telling a lie, and at the moment you're stuck in a pattern of telling yourself it's because of the people you're with, and if you were with other people you'd be happy, but you can't be happy in this situation. And this is a lie to yourself. If you actually go back to your initial feeling, there's a vulnerability, and when you begin to connect with that vulnerability, then your energy begins to line up again and you begin to feel connected to everything. Your natural way of being is vulnerability, is sensitivity. To say if you're telling yourself the reason you're unhappy is because of your work, and this and that, and it's because this, and it's not in line with enlightenment, and the boss is like this, and your body is really uncomfortable, I assure you, this is not in line with reality. Reality, the nature of reality is infinite possibility and growth. So if your feelings and your thoughts aren't like that, that's because you're lying to yourself. So if you feel really uncomfortable about that, it's because you're not telling yourself the truth. In that situation, the truth is what's happening. The truth is that this is totally mysterious, and that whatever you think isn't a reality. What you're thinking is doing is trying to help you progress. So when your thinking is in line with progression and expansion, then it's more in line with who you are. The identification with all these false lies is what creates suffering. So the first suffering is, I'm a limited body, I'm this body, and I'm limited. And then there's all types of lies that evolve from that, and they begin to be believed to be true, and that you'll find your happiness in an event in the future. You're going to find it when you get to a better workplace, when you sort out your particular circumstances, when you have enough money. You'll never have enough money. Even if you become a billionaire, you'll still feel like you don't have enough, that you need more. It doesn't mean that you can't aspire to it, but when you're in line with your purpose, it feels like growth, it feels good. It doesn't come from fear, it doesn't come from anxiety. So you know you're lying to yourself when it comes from fiction. So if you're sitting at, say, a work do, and you're saying how problematic this work do is, and why aren't there more enlightened, expansive people, and you're feeling really uncomfortable, then that's because you're lying to yourself. If you're saying that to yourself and you're feeling really comfortable and expanded, then more than likely you're in line with yourself, and the thing to do is to walk out. Because when you're in line with yourself and you're not lying, it's about action, it's about doing. So then you just get up and walk out if this isn't the place for you. When you're in lie, it feels uncomfortable and you don't know what to do. When you're being honest to yourself, it feels strong, it feels empowered. It feels like action. It doesn't mean that it's necessarily a good feeling, and it could be an angry feeling. It comes from this expansive place. Honesty is following your flow. And following your flow is this emptiness, this openness, this expansion. And you'll find that there's a way of being in that on the human level, and it lines up. When you're separate and identified, then you're in friction. You're constantly in friction. You're telling yourselves all sorts of not truths to try to get somewhere which will never be what you want it to be. You're trying to fit life into this idea of what you think it should be, and then you're trying to get to that place. And you're trying to make up all these stories to justify your actions, to justify everything. And the whole time you feel uncomfortable and you feel separate. And you feel like you're in conflict. And that's the lie. You know when you're lying because there is this anxiety, this sense that you're not home. When you're not lying, there's a sense of being at home. Even if you're having angry thoughts, it feels like it comes from home, and it's always moving to this place of infinity, or open to this place of infinity on the human level. So maybe you're sitting here now and you're thinking, oh, it's too confusing what she's saying, I don't understand it, I don't like this anymore, why can't I get there? If you're feeling contracted and in friction and like you're not at home, those thoughts are a lie, are an illusion. Don't listen to them. You let them come in. You recognize what feelings you're feeling, so go deep into your feelings, recognize that you feel lack, you feel lost, You feel like you can't get home. Let those thoughts pass through like a cloud. Let those feelings pass through and recognize that you are, this is. There is something experiencing those thoughts that doesn't move, and there's this sense of aliveness which is love. This is who you are. So if you want to write questions and ask me about this, then we can talk about it in more detail. But the point of it is to come back to who you are. And who you are isn't this form, isn't this character. But the reason that the character stays strong and there is an identification with that character is because the character is so strongly seeking for freedom in time, so strongly to identify with the timeline and to get somewhere in time, to arrive in time. It's so obsessed with this game. Arrival, 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 getting, getting, getting. And there is no arrival but here. Your freedom is here. And it's really truly seeing this, that anything you tell yourself about arriving in time isn't going to bring you freedom. Freedom is. This is. This is your freedom. This is your home. Your stories, if they're in conflict, if they're making you feel bad, if they're making you feel agitated, they're not about home. They're about time, about trying to avoid the past and get to the future. And you can tell these stories are a lie by the discomfort they create in you. So if your stories are telling you a story that you're not good enough in some way and you feel bad about that, then the seeking energies try to seek to stop that, try to avoid it, try to do something about it. And the key is to not identify with that, to just let that wash through and not give it any energy. See that that's not true, that's a lie, that's dishonesty. Who you are is this. You're absolutely perfect as you are.